Imagine waking up one morning and reading the headline, "Trump plans 100% tariff on foreign films and furniture." At first, it sounds like yet another trade war move, something we've seen before with steel, aluminum, and Chinese electronics. But this time, the story is different, because it's not just physical goods like furniture that are in focus. For the first time in history, services like films, streaming content, and cultural exports are being dragged into the battlefield of tariffs. This is not just about sofas and dining tables, it's about the movies you watch on Netflix, the anime you binge from Japan, the French art films that win Oscars, and the Korean dramas that have taken over global audiences. Suddenly, the world of entertainment is no longer safe from the economic weapons of politics. To understand why this is so shocking, let's step back. Tariffs have always been imposed on tangible goods, things that cross borders physically. Cars, clothes, machinery, agricultural products, those have been the traditional targets. But movies, streaming content, these are intangible services. Until now, governments avoided targeting them because of international trade laws and agreements under the World Trade Organization, WTO. Trump's proposal changes that. By putting a 100% tariff on foreign films, the US would be treating cultural imports like they treat steel from China. For every dollar Hollywood or Netflix spends to license a foreign movie, the cost could instantly double. That would not only make it harder for streaming platforms to provide diverse global content, but also push viewers back toward domestically produced films. In other words, it's a political way of forcing America first, even in your living room. But here's where things get complicated. Legally, tariffs on services like films are uncharted territory. Most trade agreements do not classify films as goods in the traditional sense. They fall under intellectual property and services. That means Trump's move is bound to trigger a massive legal battle in international courts. Foreign governments, from France to South Korea to India, could challenge this tariff as a violation of WTO rules. Hollywood studios themselves might also push back, because despite being American, they rely heavily on foreign collaborations, co-productions, and global distribution. Imagine Disney wanting to release a Marvel film co-financed by a European company, only to see it taxed to death in its own home market. The line between foreign and domestic in the modern film industry is blurred, and tariffs could make that entire system collapse. The impact on streaming platforms would be even more direct. Platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and Hulu thrive on international content diversity. Think of how Korean dramas like Squid Game or Spanish series like Money Heist became global sensations. These shows not only gave audiences fresh storytelling, but also generated billions in revenue for the platforms. With a 100% tariff, licensing those shows in the US becomes financially unviable. Either the platforms absorb the cost, which would slash their profits, or they raise subscription prices for American users. In both cases, the viewer loses. Suddenly, your favorite international shows might disappear from your library. Not because they're unpopular, but because politics made them too expensive. Hollywood, on the other hand, could see both opportunities and dangers. On one side, this tariff would shield American studios from foreign competition, forcing platforms to rely more heavily on US-made content. That might look like a short-term win. But in the long run, the globalized film ecosystem is too interconnected. Hollywood makes billions by distributing films abroad and collaborating with foreign talent. If the US imposes tariffs, other countries are almost guaranteed to retaliate, slapping their own taxes on American movies screened overseas. That would be disastrous for Hollywood, which earns more from international box office sales than it does from domestic ones. A Marvel film or a Disney animation could face skyrocketing costs in markets like China, Europe, and India. So, while the tariff looks like a defensive wall, it might actually trigger a trade war that cripples Hollywood's biggest advantage: its global reach. Beyond the legal and economic battles, this move raises cultural questions. Films are not just entertainment. They're also a medium of soft power. For decades, the US used Hollywood to project its culture, values, and influence worldwide. By taxing foreign films out of existence in America, the country risks isolating its audiences from the richness of global culture. Imagine a generation of Americans growing up without exposure to international cinema, limited only to domestic productions shaped by US politics. That could create a narrower cultural mindset, less open to the world. And ironically, it could also weaken America's own influence abroad, as other countries stop welcoming US movies in retaliation. So, what does this mean for the average person? If you're a streaming subscriber, you may soon notice your library shrinking. If you're a fan of Bollywood, anime, European cinema, or K-dramas, prepare for bad news. Those shows could vanish from US platforms or cost you extra. If you're a filmmaker, your international collaborations could get tangled in red tape. And if you're part of Hollywood, you're staring at a future where the world stops being your stage. What started as a tariff on furniture could end up reshaping the entire global entertainment industry. In the end, Trump's plan to impose a 100% tariff on foreign films and furniture is more than just an economic decision. It's a cultural earthquake. It represents the first time services like films are being dragged into trade wars, setting a precedent that could change how we think about global culture forever. The legal battles will be fierce, the streaming industry will be shaken, and Hollywood may face its biggest identity crisis yet. The question is, will audiences accept a world where politics decides what movies they get to watch? Or will this move backfire, proving that culture cannot be contained within economic borders?